And I'm trying, and I'm going to do a little bit of a different sequence, just a settling in meditation, a few minutes, and then a reflection, and then a guided meditation to illustrate, and bring into our experience what I'm speaking about. So, allowing your breath to take you into the body. And arriving here at the IMC, and taking a screenshot and seeing what are you bringing with you today. You feel a little bit stressed, or you feel tired, or you feel energized. Just noticing how you feel. And that you're here with so many others in this welcoming space. Maybe you're here many, many times before. Maybe it's your first time here. And then landing here. And noticing the weight of the body on the cushion or on the chair. And the gravity which is gently pulling you towards the earth underneath this building. And showing us where the work lies. The work is embodied. And our bodies are instruments, for sensing our present moment experience. Rather than thinking about it. So a few months ago, Anne has asked me what I would like to speak about today. And I said, I'd like to speak about inner activism and responsibility. The ability to respond from a connected place, not from just, from the thinking mind, but from our full being. Understanding, that our body is actually a direct line into a much bigger intelligence, which, we can call planet Earth, which is a self-regulating, intelligent process. And, at this time in history, it calls out to us in many ways, to get our attention. As we are coming more and more to the limitations of what the biosphere can sustain, with the amount of, human beings are living on the planet and how they live. In particular, in the so-called global north, the living style is taking a very big toll on the resources. And, all of us starting to notice this more and more. But there's a lot of confusion around how to meet that calling. And, how to be able to respond to it from a connected place rather than from a disconnected place, sending us into numbness, into disconnection, into just trying to solve the issue from the same level of consciousness which created it. And there's a lot of speaking about this these days, that doesn't really work, and it needs grounding in direct experience. And through the bodies we have, those bodies which are made of the 5 elements, we actually have a direct lifeline into this much vaster intelligence, which we call planet Earth, because these bodies and the planet are consisting of the same elements: earth element, water element, fire element, wind element, space element. And this is something we might theoretically know, but we have to really bring it into our own experience on a regular basis, so that this can really start to sink in deeply. And through this direct experience, that our assumptions, our narrative about who we are and what it means to be alive, so that will change through direct experience. And starting to attune with this truth, which is always already functioning, but it's hidden. It's kind of hidden in plain view, because the way how we are framing our experience is very much through a narrative of separation. And then when we hear these callings from the earth, we get triggered into numbness and dissociation, and feeling overwhelmed, because there's a sense this is all so much, we don't know what to do. And all of our systems, are not really able to do the depths of change, which is required to turn this around. So we have to really work on our own minds and the narrative, we tell ourselves about what it is, to be alive. And this, this inner work, to do this connective or reconnective work. This is what I call inner activism, which is the basis for outer activism to be really working well. We have to come from a different understanding, and that understanding, that these bodies are actually, we can say, they are sacred land. They are pieces of planet walking around, as human bodies, because any life forms, we can find here, they are all emerging out of those elements, and then when the time comes, they dissolve back into it. It's a constant process, and we need to do what we can to recognize that truth, that we are really not separate. We are like waves, on the top of the ocean, emerging, and then, existing for some time, and then going back into it, and that, energetic connection through eating, drinking, breathing, sweating, crying, going to the bathroom. There's a constant exchange happening. And, that's easily overlooked, because what the eyes show us is kind of we're looking like separate entities walking around. But if we start contemplating, it starts to sink in, it starts to change us. And that's exactly, I think, what's needed right now. This willingness to attune to our own bodies in a different way, and starting to resonate more and more with the fact, that these bodies emerge out of the planet and they are part of it. In the beginning, it sounds all a bit kind of, superficial, artificial rather. But then, if we do this meditation, which we are soon starting, it gives us a direct taste of that truth. And then something else, starts to open up just a little bit. And then through like a door opening up, or a window opening up. And then if we really take an interest and go there and open that door again and again, and move into that space more and more, it starts to change our way of thinking. And then if our way of thinking changes, then of course our speech and our actions will change from there as well. So it's a training really. And when we start that training, like any meditation training, it needs to be done, on a regular basis, and then it will slowly but surely have an effect, on the way we are in the world. And in the canon we can find the basic teaching of early Buddhism on the 4 Satipatthana. I'm sure all of you have heard of that, the 4 establishments of mindfulness. And the first of those 4 is meditation on the body. And there is 3 different meditations mentioned, and one of them is meditation on the elements, and another one is meditation on the body parts, and there's also meditation on death. But today in particular I want to attend, to the meditation on the elements, because it's such a really straightforward practice, and it comes to us from Iron Age India. It's a really ancient practice, and it has a lot of applicability in this day and age, where we are meeting the limits of the biosphere of this planet we are part of. And, just reading about it in the newspaper, or, hearing about it on different channels is not enough. We also really need to bring it into a direct experience, because otherwise it's so easy to just numb out, because that's what the system does. If it's overwhelmed, it just numbs out. And that's something to respect and bring kindness to, but it's important to notice it. That's not necessary equanimity, but it's a pulling back because of overwhelm. And we need to recognize that and bring something to it which can help us, to do that work of reconnecting with who we are and what we are called to work with at this point in history. Because our practice is always really connected to what's happening right now in the world, in our lives, in our families, in our societies. It's about being able to respond and not react, but responding and slowing down and becoming conscious, of what is there with kindness and acceptance and interest. And if there's like a sense of numbing and disconnection, to not override that and trying, to push through it, but just noticing it for what it is, because it is an intelligent response. And it's not a nothing, but it is a something. It is a mind state which needs to be noticed. The inability, to really connect. Just know it for what it is. And then starting, to bring in a different way of working with that. So that we are, more and more able to resonate with that truth, that we, these bodies of ours, and the planet Earth are one and the same process. And our bodies are so much huger, than what we usually think. They're deeply, deeply networked with the planet, with the more than human world, and we are all together in this. And we are called to take an interest in that now, so that we will be changed, from the ground up, basically. And also, passing that on to the younger generations, to the future generations which haven't come yet. It's a new narrative which is wanting to be integrated. It's an evolutionary threshold, really, where we start to see we can no longer put ourselves into the center of everything. We are just one species amongst many species, and we all participate in the same process. And that's amazing. To consciously, be on that threshold and to be able to participate in that shift. To be able to support that shift by just individually, personally starting to practice in that way. And to do it also together with others. Just, and when we look back in history, there's been so many times, these very big, shifts in that the worldview, the narrative had to change. Like, when we noticed that, the planet Earth is not in the center of the solar system, that was a struggle, for that to be recognized and to enter the mainstream. But it happened. Or, at the times human beings were thinking the Earth is flat, and then that changed. That was a struggle. And now we are again on such a threshold, where there's a big shift building up, and where we are basically, forced by circumstances to go deeper, to drop deeper, to take ourselves off the assumption, that we can be masters of nature, that we can be masters of this planet, that we can control all of this, and just coming down to the ground and noticing that we are not different than the planet. We have arisen from it, and we are constantly kept alive by it. We are actually it. We are one and the same process. And then, as we are building up that resonance by tuning to that truth, then through that connection, a response can emerge from that, which is more attuned to reality, rather than, trying to fix it from the same narrative which created it in the first place. So we can just, start with noticing the breath. Again, the wind element. The wind element stands for movement and for expansion and contraction, and you can sense that in your torso with the in-breath and the out-breath. So just let the air come in through the nostrils into your lungs, and then with the out-breath allow it to take you down, down into the ground below your seat. Like sending down roots into the soil. Just noticing, if your awareness, can go down with the out breath. No need, to put pressure, but just noticing whatever is happening. And just slowly allow your awareness to drop down with those roots, meeting the soil, any kind of stress or doubt. Just let it be received by the earth. Meeting all of the other root systems, the mycelium, all of that data flow, which is happening in the body of the earth, which consists, of so many different ancestor beings, bodies of humans and animals, plant bodies, mineral bodies. It's an aliveness. We are part of that. And if we do not participate in the earthiness of the earth through eating, different foods which are growing out of the earth, this body cannot live for more than 1 or 2 months without taking in that food, building up the body. And it's said within about 7 years, all of the cells of a body are replaced. So you've had many bodies since came to this birth. That in itself is awesome. And just, allowing that vibration of, by breathing up the earthiness of the earth, that direct experience, allowing that to resonate with the earth element in your own body, in the bones, the nails, the hair, the teeth, earth element. Earth element internally and earth element externally is exactly the same earth element. Earth element is empty of a self. And just in this wordless way, just resonating with that. And as we are sending down our roots, we also meet the water element. Yeah, our bodies, consist about 75% of water element. All through the body, many, many different liquids are coursing through. And we can sense it, in the softness of the flesh of the body. And water element stands for cohesion, fluidity and wetness. And the water element in the earth body and also on the surface of the earth as the rivers and lakes and oceans is exactly the same water element as we can find in our bodies, in the bloodstream and the other liquids. And if we don't, drink water for 5 days or so, the body shuts down. Water element is empty of a self. And we never cut the umbilical cord towards the planet. There's a constant exchange. And allowing the whole system in a wordless way to resonate with that. It's like updating a computer. And these bodies, they are very sophisticated biocomputers, we could say, and have been developed since over 4 billion years. And by just simply, changing the framework of how we are experiencing that, something else, becomes available. Information, starting to inform us. Our form gets changed through that different way of opening to experience. And then, if we continue to go down, we also come to the fire element. At the center of this planet, there's a lot of heat. And then also we receive heat from the sun. Fire element, which we experience as hot and cold, inside the body and outside on the skin, where the air in the room touches the skin. Or maybe in the stomach, maybe you've had breakfast and you can sense the fire element, the digestion going on. These human bodies of ours, they can only exist in a certain temperature range. If it gets too cold, freezes, gets too hot, it evaporates. So a delicate balance is needed for the body to live. And that balance, on the planet is now starting to get out of sync more and more. Because of our lifestyles. And we can do something about this when we are ready. So that's, we've experienced the wind element through the breathing process, the earth element through the stability and the structure of the bones and the vastness and the stability of the planet. The water element, which stands for cohesion and for flow and wetness. And then the fire element, hot and cold. And then we can come back to the breath again. And really, consciously breathing up that energy resource, which is just below our seats, that huge, vast planet Earth, which is a living being, a living process, which calls for our attention at this time. And this is a way, to attend to it with the whole body, rather than just by thinking about it. And it's a very helpful balance, to getting lost completely in thinking, but grounding that in sensing the resonance between the body and the planet. And through that, integrating more and more the understanding that this is not two different things. This is one process. And we can draw on that intelligence. If we have the humility, to go there, go down on the ground. And the word, for earth, another word is humus, the black, very fertile earth. Humus and humility and human, those three words, they all have something in common. And this is the humility needed at this point in history for us to open up to a different intelligence than the intellect. Humus, humility, and human. So breathing up that the life force, the energy, and allowing ourselves to be informed by it through that wordless resonance, by attuning to it. You might, experience it in your own body as a vibration, as an aliveness. Just, breathing that up. Breathing that up through the trunk of your body. And through your organs and your neck, behind your eyes, all the way up to the crown of the head. And then, you could, with the exhalation, just opening up the crown of your head. And now we can also, we put out roots into the sky, like branches of a tree. Because we is also energetically very much connected with the space and the oxygen which comes to us, from the trees, from plant life on this planet. We have also energetic roots into the unmanifest that we can't really see. The spaciousness. And just, sending out these roots or branches into the sky. And drawing on that power. Which is also there, beyond what we can see with our eyes right now. And extending the roots or the branches up into the cosmos. There's billions of solar systems. You're also, reaching into that power, that energy. But just, attuning to that. opening ourselves to that. So on the in-breath we can feel the root system in the earth, the energy which comes to us from the manifest planet, and our body which is deeply networked into that planet. And also from that which is beyond. And we're like a bridge, between those two dimensions, our bodies. And we can sense our heart, as being like the nexus point between those two dimensions, the manifest and the unmanifest. Like a bridge point. And sensing into the intelligence of the heart. Of the heart of all of us which feel called, to evolve in order to be able to respond to the situation. This urge to evolve, which brought you all here. That's why you meditate. And just, really sensing into that calling. And really honoring that calling in you. And also noticing you're sitting here with many other people who all feel called in some way or another. Otherwise they wouldn't be here today. And the beauty of that. And notice if you can, sense something in your heart. Bringing in the Brahmavihara of compassion, karuna. May all beings be free from harm and the intention to harm. May all beings be free from harm and the intention to harm. As we are becoming conscious of this evolutionary threshold where we need to go deeper in order to be able to respond to so much complexity. And noticing that we already have the equipment for that, through the Buddhist meditation on the Satipatthana and the Brahmaviharas. We do have, what it takes to be able to start to attune more deeply with this point in history in which we are living. So we can't really go back into Iron Age India when the Buddha lived, but we can bring this teaching into the present moment and the challenges of the present moment. And the boundlessness, of the heart, which is able to respond from a place of compassion and this urge, to evolve in order to be able to contribute to this shift, which is calling us. As we are maturing and growing, not just as individuals, but also, as a species, as a collective. Inviting in the blessings of our ancestors, who have handed over these very amazing bodies to us, so that we, develop new capacities of attuning, and then, hand that on to the next generations, so that they may have opportunity to also grow and benefit, from this life which we have got. So, just the willingness to stand on that threshold and through tuning and developing capacity to resonate, we will be changed, and then from that, our contribution can emerge from that. Not in order, to tick something off the to-do list, but in order to be more a human. Humility, human. And to also bring in some humor about all of this. To see the precision, with all of this is emerging. The mystery of this embodied life. And the choice, which we have got to turn towards it. So in a minute or so I'm going to ring the bell, and then, when you open your eyes, maybe just, trying to stay connected with the body from inside. And, slowly, noticing with whom you are sitting here in the room. And then, if anyone would like to share something or clarify something, we have about 20 minutes or so, a bit more. So I don't know how you usually do that. Do you hand the microphone around?
I will. I just want to, seems a little loud. I especially love the part about that we're pieces of the earth walking around, and the roots going down and branches going up. So wonderful.
Thank you.
such fortune to meet you in person. Thank you. My question is very, I think it's scientific, which is about how does the knowledge from the Atma get transferred to the current body?
What?
So if we have rebirths, we are learning something every birth. So how do I, like the current me, get all the knowledge from the previous janmas or the births?
From what?
I don't know.
Generations, did you say?
No, the previous births.
Yes.
So how do, it looks like there is an accumulation of knowledge. Right? Yeah, but she cannot, I'm having difficulty explaining it to her.
No, but the microphone is good.
Okay, so I'm talking about the previous births and the current birth. So how does the knowledge from the previous births get transferred or?
It is consciousness. Consciousness is like the quality of the consciousness is the sum total, of that of the consciousness, which then will be reborn into some kind of a body, and that is when a child. Do you have children?
No, I have a dog who's
Okay.
whom I treat like a child.
But what I mean, some people have like 2 or 3 children, they're all different. Because they're all different, have different consciousness, and that consciousness is what was cultivated before,
So my question is, if we have been having rebirths, so shouldn't we have like smartness not to do some things, like repeatedly do stupid stuff?
What?
We keep doing stupid things.
What?
We keep doing stupid things, so why don't we learn?
Yeah, so I mean,
Because it's very hard, it's when we are all here, because we all would like to do less stupid things and do more wise things, but we have very strong habit, and also like traumas, when we had very hard experiences, and then those traumas, are still in the body, stored, and then if we get triggered, we get overwhelmed, isn't it? And then we do something or say something or drink something or eat something we actually don't want to, but we feel so overwhelmed. So it's we need to kind of slowly, but with a lot of kindness and also support, work through that, digest this undigested.
Okay.
Which keeps us disconnected from these good intentions we have, and this is what I was also kind of guiding us in the meditation before, to do this reconnective work, because we are generally quite disconnected from the fact, that our bodies and the planet are one process. We read it and say, yes, that's true, but then the way we live is very different,
Yeah.
because we haven't done the work. We haven't done the digesting, because number one is we didn't know how to do it, and we weren't aware of the harm it creates, but more and more we do become aware, and when we see, for example, what's going on in the Middle East at this point, where there is so much, the spinning, of the trauma has gone so fast, and we can see, you can't, with talking, you can't get to that place. But it's with sensing, and this is something, which is, we are not very good at that, because we haven't been conditioned in that way. But slowly we start to notice it, and this is what is also meant with the shift, we have to calm down, try to solve everything here, because this is so disconnected. Yeah. So it's a daunting kind of a work, and this is why I bring this guided meditation, because it's like bringing it down to the very simple practice, of connecting and tuning in. And then when we do that, what we meet is all of the undigested stuff, the landfill. Just put it in the landfill and hope it's just going to be gone. Of course it's not gone. Neither the landfill is gone, nor all of the things which we suppress in the body. And now, this, I think we are starting to wake up to this, as a species, really. And that's a great thing, But then at the same time, it's very kind of daunting, isn't it? Yeah. Heaps of stuff, like internal and external. And now we have to find a way how we're going to do this together. Yep. I mean, nobody knows how to do it, but we know one thing is we know that the planet is a self-regulating intelligence, which is operating since billions of years, out of stardust. All of that has come to be. So why don't we connect with that more deeply, intentionally, and take our guidance from there? You can call that a Dhamma, really. But just with a different framework, it's not just about individual liberation to get away from here, to somewhere else or not be born and press for that, but also thinking about our responsibility, because we can't suppress all of that stuff because it's going to explode out, and then wars come up which are getting more and more violent, because the amount of suppressed stuff is just so big.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
You're talking about that we're thinking, we're thinking intellectually and, we should be deeper in the earth. But I want to know, for me, conflict resolution is very important. And there have been major people doing things. In the Attica prison riots, which was years ago, afterwards the prison guards said, we would all be dead if this mediator had not come into the prison.
Yeah.
Also, Robert Reich, in Berkeley, had a meeting between Israeli people, American Jews, Arabs, people with American heritage. They got together and talked to each other and agreed on certain principles. I know people, my niece went to a Thanksgiving, and the conversation was so bitter, the division between people about Gaza, that she walked out of Thanksgiving dinner. But there are people already, I don't know if those mediators meditate, like the person at Attica prison riot, or Robert Reich. I have no idea what he does. But there are people who are able to do that, and I'd like to know more what you think about that. There are people who are able to do this, and it sounds like you're moving towards that too.
Yeah. I'm sure those people, have some kind of a practice, They mightn't call it meditation, but it must surely be some kind of contemplative practice, Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure, yeah. I think that's what we need. We need collective spaces to digest this stuff together, mm-hmm. Because we can't do it all alone. Mm-hmm. Because we need support, of community. And I think you have a great opportunity here already, you have a community. And yeah, it's about doing that digesting, of the landfill, mm-hmm. or the trauma, which keeps us disconnected and feeling like waiting for some big daddy to come and fix it, That's like the old narrative, mm-hmm. And now we are starting to grow out of that one. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't really happen. I mean, and sometimes there's some really great figures, like Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, mm-hmm. Thich Nhat Hanh, and so on. There is great beings who can, inspire us and show us, what the human potential can be. But then we have to bring it back, into ourselves and not rely on them. But mm-hmm. we can do this together because we already have a lot of, we have the information. Mm-hmm. We have as I said before, the meditation on the 4 Satipatthana, 4 mm-hmm. establishments of mindfulness, and the Brahma Viharas. I mean, they are the 2 basic mm-hmm. building blocks, for starting to connect with oneself. Mm-hmm. And, and if we do that work, I think it will become more and more we'll see, that if we make ourselves available, if we really feel like we, this urge to evolve, as I called it,
Urge to
evolve, in order to, face the responsibility, what do we leave behind for future generations, Then if we connect with that, I think situations will start to emerge, where we can more and more do that work, First we have to just, start noticing it. That's what we would want to do, and then nourishing that and attending to it, and it like to a plant, and trusting that intelligence, which is the intelligence of the heart, I think, and the intelligence of these intentions. If you really nourish it and attend to it like to a plant, it will grow. It's the same, if you cut your finger, if you clean it up and put a Band-Aid, it just knows how to do, If you don't cut every day, it's going to heal, without you doing anything much, other than keeping the conditions right for it, And I think this is something we need to more directly understand through certain practices, which are kind of a little bit, let's say, designed for that, where you use some of the ancient teachings, which we have received from the Buddha from Iron Age India, but set it in a bit of a different framework because we live in a different time, and the challenges are principally always the same, greed, hatred, and delusion in action, but what we are facing now is different in terms of, the globality of the issue, us all together on a planet which has a limited biosphere, and there's more and more people, and there's more and more polarization. There's like a certain kind of tension building up. And we can all sense it, we all feel it, and then it explodes at some of the very vulnerable places, And if we don't work with that pressure, then we don't know where it's gonna explode next,
Do you think that your teaching could be combined with teachings in mediation and conflict resolution?
Sure, yeah.
I think it could be a good combination.
Yeah.
I just not putting down what you're saying at all.
Yeah.
No, but combining them is what I'm saying.
I mean,
That's all.
at the Aloka Earth Room, where I live, and it's in San Rafael, that's what we are offering there on Saturdays. We have in-person meeting, and we're doing these kind of meditations, and then afterwards we sit in council together, either formal council or sometimes more informal practice discussions, and we try to work with those things, Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's many places who do this kind of work, of course, but it is very important that those spaces, come into being, I think. Yes?
Thank you so much for all the great work from Aloka Earth Room.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for the meditation. So for me, when we went through the elements, earth, water, wind, fire, right, the sense of peace as well as a sense of sadness, thinking about the wounded planet we live in. There's a lot of pain associated with that. Also like the theme of inner activism. I would love to hear from you, what is it individually that I can do to bring this sense of inner activism so that it becomes a larger movement, more people, more care, higher prioritization for the planet-related activities that I can engage in?
I think, by really, doing these practices, of really attuning to the to the fact, that the body and the planet are one process. That's one thing. And then also really noticing this urge to evolve, which we're just wording, and really noticing it, respecting it, and then speaking about it with other people. You're part of the Earth Care group. And then, by you becoming the medicine you're looking for, it's going to be contagious in some way or another. And it's not going to be exactly on your timetable, as you know already. But that's the way to do it, And really, it's almost like walking a prayer, basically, we can say. And just continuing to do that work and trusting in emergence, But it doesn't mean that we are not doing anything, but, seeing the opportunities and that's how I made the Earth Room, I'm interested in all of that since over 10 years, so it was a process. But then at one point there was the opportunity, and then, we need to act. So it's this attunement process, by resonating with that much bigger intelligence and allowing then that to come forth, to be informed by it. So it's a mysterious process, but it's also a very grounded process, And because I think the resonance which can come through us, is always in proportion, to our openness, and then that the gifts we have got, and the talents we have got, they will be used by that process, Yeah. I think we could maybe take one more question, and then I think we have to end, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
One or two, maybe. Depends on how long.
How long till 10:45?
At 10:45.
Okay, I see the clock there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
I really want to thank you so much for coming to IMC today.
Thank you.
It is really lovely to see you in person.
Thank you.
And I just want to share my personal story. So I do a lot of climate activism. And I find that what is so important for me is to replenish my soul and joy and to take action from that place. And the thing that I do that is most effective for me is I do habitat restoration. Mm-hmm. And I sit in the dirt. Right now it's the mud. And as I'm digging around, these earthworms come up, and it reminds these fat, beautiful earthworms, and it reminds me so much of your earthworm meditation. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know that I stop and really meditate on that earthworm and join in that earthworm and think of you and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Elaine. Even your hair got green, isn't it, from all of your work? You're really doing it. Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could just say a few words about taking action from a place of joy, mm-hmm. as opposed from a place of fear.
Yeah. I think, I can't say to people you need to be joyful, because sometimes we are not, But I think what I can almost access easier is like a sense of awe, a sense of awe about the fact that my body and the body of the planet are one body. I mean, that's awesome, and I can go back to that pretty regularly, and then sometimes there is a sadness which comes with that, or just like the mind goes like, wow, and there's nothing, and sometimes it is a joy. And joy is definitely, there's more buoyancy there, and that's it feels good, But I think if there is no joy, I can't steamroll people into feeling joy, but it's more like, just start where you are and connect with that sense of awe, because I think that can help to make more space, so we can meet the grief, because sometimes if the grieving hasn't been done, there's no joy, because the joy is I think is also the result of having done the work, because when we have done some of that work, then we can be more connected, then we resonate more with what is there, and then the joy comes from that, Yeah, but great, if you do have, done, a lot in your life to get to the place where you're now, and now, it's also the result of you feeling good about yourself, having really walked your talk, right, to a certain extent, and that can really bring joy. Yeah, that is true. But we need to start where we are, and then we can see, others who have done it, who have gone through the discomfort, of rearranging certain parts of their life, in order to be able to walk your talk. That can bring joy, And there's like a certain renunciation connected with that. And that, is a scary thing for a lot of people, But we need to just, start where we are, one step at a time. And then that can really bring joy, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Maybe if it's okay, I just end with a little chant, yeah? I just would like, share the benefits of the gathering today, with all of us, so that we will find the courage, to do the work, to do the reconnective work, so that we be more in resonance, with what's asked now from us as we are standing on this evolutionary threshold, recognizing more and more that we are part of a living, intelligent earth. May you have every good blessing, may all the devas protect you, by the power of all the Buddhas, may you ever be well, may you have every good blessing, may all the devas protect you, by the power of all the Dhamma, may you ever be well, may you have every good blessing, may all the devas protect you, by the power of all the Sangha, may you ever be well. Thank you so much. And I just want to show you, I've brought some cards from the Aloka Earth Room. They are outside there where the nun statue is on the cupboard. You could, if you'd like to take some, you'll be welcome. So thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you.